It's time for Fort Worth Musical Moments. Join us now as Steve Markward takes a look at the music and the artists who made the city's vibrant musical legacy what it is today. Well, hey, it's Friday, it's 10 a.m. Central, and you know where you are. It's Fort Worth Musical Moments. I'm your host, Brent Adams, along with my buddy, Steve Markward. And Steve, the way independent artists reach music fans continues to evolve, and everyone is constantly searching for new avenues to distribute content. And today we have a guest who's played a vital role in helping artists reach the masses. So before we delve in to all that here, let's welcome our special guest here, Tommy Snyder, and we've also got with us Kurt Ryle.
Great. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Yes, so we got a lot of exciting things to talk about, and an interesting person to introduce our viewers to if they don't already know him. Tommy right now is a citizen of Fort Worth, Colleyville area, but that's soon to change because you're packing up. You've already packed up. You're heading to Nashville.
We are. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and exciting news. So on August 8th, I think the story broke officially through Billboard and other outlets about a new television network, and we're going to talk a lot about that as much as you want to talk about it, and what that looks like, because it's an interesting and I think very good time to be launching a new television network, but the American Country Network. So we're looking forward to talking about that and learning a little bit more about the network and you personally, Tommy.
Great. I can't wait to get started on it, and thank you guys for having me today.
Well, before we get deep into talking about the formation of the network, take us back a bit. Where does this passion for country music come from? And also the passion for rural America.
So my mom's family all play instruments, and my grandfather's family was from the hills of North Carolina, and so they like to have a good hootenanny when I was a kid. So growing up around that, I thought it was super cool. I learned to play the guitar at 4, and my mom bought me a 4-string tenor guitar, and my Uncle John told me when I could learn to play all the Golden California by the Gatlin Brothers, he'd buy me a 6-string. So that was the first song I learned very quickly, and that was the beginning of the music career.
I love it. I understand. Also, you're from rural America. You get rural America, and you had some time in the FFA as well.
I did. So I grew up on a farm in Florida between Ocala and Gainesville, Williston, Florida, population 2,000-ish back then. I don't know what it is now, but so my dad, he had a farm. We raised cows. And we raised hogs and chickens and every animal he could think of. And so growing up in that environment, it was kind of natural for me to become a member of the FFA, which was a big program in high school. And what a great program that is for kids. You know, I was able to actually leave that small town and go see a lot of different places and experience a lot of cool things through that. And, you know, the structure of it is great, too, because it actually gives kids the ability to have a responsibility and learn things that they might not actually be able to experience.
And through that, you were also a land judging champion.
I was. Yes. So 1985, we won the state land judging competition. And then we actually went to the national land judging competition in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And we won that, too.
Now what is land? Tell me, explain that deal, land judging. What does that mean?
So they basically go out into a field with a backhoe, just like that field right there. They take a backhoe and they dig holes. And there might be like 6 or 7 holes. And each one of those holes, you have to judge it. So it has to be judged on topsoil, water runoff and drainage, what type of loam it has in the soil. And it's funny, I'm remembering all this. I haven't thought about it in years. But you know, there might be a clay level that it stops, you know, the water from draining correctly, which causes soil erosion. So you're judging all these different things, and you kind of articulate it up to an average and turn in your results.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
when you look at your experiences in rural America, where does music fit into that picture, and how do you connect all those dots as you look to bring content to rural America?
Yeah, so look, country music is like the fiber of rural America. You know, where I grew up, it was interesting because when I was a teenager, I was listening to pop music. Mm-hmm. But when I joined the Army and went off to boot camp, you become homesick very quickly, right? I was 17 when I joined the Army. I was still a kid. And, it's funny how country music actually became something that I was able to go back and listen to help feel like I was still part of my home, right? So it's a fabric that runs through all of rural America for sure.
Were you in your bunk listening to the Gatlin Brothers?
Yeah. Remembering that old 6-string I didn't have with me.
It's interesting when I get you on the making you feel like you're home, because I lost my father in 2017. And I don't remember any time. I mean, and I grew up on pop music. I mean, I was a big fan of the Beatles, so I'm dating myself here. But I do remember actually when they were an actual group, and the very first album I ever bought was a Beatles album. So my brother and I love to listen to that kind of stuff in rock and roll. But the memories I have sharing music with my father was always sitting on or laying on the living room floor with the lights off, listening to Hank Williams or Jim Reeves or, that kind of thing. And so the being a big part of country music today is always, he kind of makes me feel connected to him. And I always at certain times wonder, wow, I hope he's looking down and seeing what all we're doing here with the music that he loves so much.
I'm sure he is. When I was a kid growing up, my dad was a street rod builder, and he had a shop, and we had an AM radio, and that thing was blasting out of that one speaker as good as it could, the local country station. So when we were out working, that's what we listened to all the time. And, the cool thing is over the years, after I got to Nashville and became a songwriter and got into the music business, it was so cool to be able to meet those people that I listened to as a kid, right? That was cool.
It's hard to believe that you guys, because you, Steve Oliver, and Kurt Ryle, who's with us now, y'all were all kind of parallel paths, and I'm surprised y'all didn't collide with each other. But I guess it's a pretty big.
We probably did. I think when I'm just sitting here looking at Tommy, I think that we probably worked together at some point. It's funny, Tommy. I remember growing up too as a kid, and I remember my heroes were George Jones, Ray Price, Vern Gosden. And I thought, one day I just want to get to meet all those people. And I ended up becoming the guitar player in their bands, and all of them. I ended up working and touring with all of them. I can't even begin to tell you what that was like to wake up on the bus and there's Ray Price sitting there. George Jones is just amazing. And so I feel blessed to have done that,
Yes, it is such a blessing. Recently I was talking to you guys the other day. Noah Gordon, my partner in American Country Network, introduced me to Ronnie Millsap, and Ronnie and Rob Galbraith and I have become friends. It's kind of surreal, thinking back when I was a kid listening to that music and being able to go sit in the living room and hear the stories back in the day from a lot of these artists. There's a lot of them out there that still have a story to tell. We talked about that. I think that American Country Network now is going to make sure that we continue to make sure that these artists are remembered and heard, and we want to make sure that the legacy continues.
Right. Well, Kurt, I was going to ask you that. When you talk about the aforementioned legends there, as you traveled the highways and byways and went to a lot of small towns and rural areas, how much did that music resonate, and how much did it mean to those people?
You know what, Brent? That's a great question, because I got to tell you something, guys. One of the when I think of New York, I always think of New York City. I don't think of anything else. But I tell you, I remember working with Vern Gosden, and I remember going way upstate New York, and we took the bus off of the road and onto this little road path that somebody had looked like they had just dug it out with machetes, and we're driving the bus down way back up in the woods and the sticks, and they had a stage set up outside. And Kitty Wells, do y'all remember Kitty Wells?
Yeah.
She was really old even then, but she was on that show. Vern was on that show, and I just remember looking out at the ball field and seeing people sitting out there with chairs, and it reminded me of my youth in Oklahoma. So these people were everywhere. They love music. I don't care what state it's in. They're there. These country people are out there.
Kurt, I believe you're talking about Woodstock now.
No, but I did do some gigs with Ray Sawyer and those guys. What was the name of that band? I can't even remember. That was a totally different thing. Dr. Hook. You guys remember Dr. Hook?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so I got to work on some of their records too. But I played a lot of rock growing up as well. But yeah, it's fascinating. It was fascinating to hear you talk the other day, Tommy, when we were on the phone about Ronnie Millsap. And I'm such a big fan of Millsap. And
Yeah.
I know you're going to let me meet him one day. I know you're going to introduce
Yes.
me to him, and I'm so
Yes.
excited about that.
You have to meet him. He's one of the greatest guys.
Yeah.
Well, there's still music in him, and the talent there is just incredible. And you got me thinking last night or yesterday when we were having our conversation, and you brought Ronnie up, and Kurt was on the other line, and about all the incredible songs that he put out. It was like a back to my high school years for sure.
Well, he put a duets album out recently, and like Dolly Parton is on it, Jason Aldean's on it, George Strait's on it, Leon Russell is on it before he died.
Wow.
But I don't know that they've actually tried to do anything with it. But I told Rob Galbraith the duet between George Strait and Ronnie Millsap. I bet there might be a world's record for two people singing on one song with the most #1 hits.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So cool.
Well, Tommy, when you talk about the experiences that Kurt had here, and just seeing all the people and the different commonalities between Oklahoma and New York and Florida and Texas and wherever you look, when you and your partners sit down and kind of strategize what the future of this content delivery for this network looks like, not only for country music, but content that speaks to the character and the culture, the opportunities in rural America. What does that look like? Because from all accounts, this is much more than just a television venture.
It really is, and the timing couldn't be any better right now. With everything that's going on in the world, we want to make sure that the values that rural America lives by and appreciates, and the music that is available is all part of the thread of programming. We're going to be able to have lifestyle shows that Western lifestyle shows, for example, or rural lifestyle shows. As well as country music videos and country music related programming. Like the Chad Brock Show, for example. It'll be like the Ralph Emery Show, and there's kind of a gap that's been missing in Nashville for a long time after the Nashville network went off the air, and we plan on coming back in and filling that niche.
Yeah.
Well, the difference between that period in the late 90s and now is it seems like everybody fancies themselves a content creator these days. And I mean, we're just bombarded with content. How does ACN intend to rise above that noise to be able to deliver that relevant content?
So, we're taking over a building outside of Nashville, about 15 minutes outside of Nashville, and we're going to build a full production facility out there. And it's going to put us right in the middle of the realm of all the recording artists and all the people that are involved in the Nashville music industry. And so we're super excited about being in Nashville, which is going to give us the ability to, sit down and talk and hear and be a part of a lot of different artists that are in the country music industry.
Well, you mentioned that property, the former Fontenelle performance venue there in Nashville, which before that was the home of country music legend Barbara Mandrell. What stood out about that property? And if you could take us behind the scenes to help us understand what's being done there to outfit it for the purposes of American Country Network.
Yeah, so the mansion itself is not part of what we're working on, but the rest of it is all to be announced. So there'll be a press release on all that very soon.
Fair enough. Why was that the perfect spot for this?
I'm sorry?
Why was that the perfect spot for this venture?
I think it's just a great location. It's just far enough outside of town, but still very close. And, that property out there is just magical and magnificent. So we're super excited about being out there.
Yeah, it beats the heck. Yeah, just from what I've seen, it beats the heck out of your standard television studio from the exterior. Just a big concrete box. Its setting looks beautiful and sure a lot of cool. Such an inspiring.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We're super excited about the move to Nashville and all the pieces that have come together so quickly. I mean, it's undeniable that God's hands in all of this. It's all come together so great.
Well, I think, and that's that. And you mentioned God, and we certainly never shy away from that on this show or anything we do, because without Him, we're nothing, or I'm nothing for sure.
Right.
And I like where this is heading. And from the first time I saw any materials related to the network, it grabbed me real strongly. Especially, I'm looking at a presentation deck here. Friendly programming, no woke or hidden agenda. Country network. It pretty much says it all.
It does. I mean, look, there's no agenda here. We just want to make sure that the fans can hear and see and be a part of the country music lifestyle, the rural lifestyle, and the Western lifestyle. All the programming that we put on, we just want to put out the best programming possible and have a place where people can tune in and really enjoy what they're watching.
Now it's obvious there's a lot of country music stars, and we know who those guys are. And I'll say this, maybe I'll get in trouble saying this, but so many of them sound the same. But there's a lot of them out there, and of course, they're a lot of them are very popular. But how much emphasis and how important it is to the network to dedicate a program to the independent artist?
Yeah, so we definitely want to have some programming that's dedicated to independent artists. Look, there's a lot of acts out there that are not signed by a major record label that are amazing. I mean, they have a huge fan base. They have a lot of followers on social media, and they're out playing every night, doing shows. And there are people out there without deals that deserve to be recognized.
Absolutely. Well, you yourself are a creative. How exciting is this for you to get in here and not only kind of run the business aspect of this, but to be in the trenches to help create?
That's the best part about it. I was actually talking to my wife the other day. It's interesting how God's put me on a path to where I'm at today. But all of the years that I spent in the military, all the years that I spent in the U.S. Army, to Nashville, to the music business, to being in the investment banking world, all that has created a toolbox for me that's going to give me the ability to be successful with how we move forward with the network. Super excited about it.
And I got a kick out of seeing this picture here. I got Kenny Royster. Of course, he's the producer who did a lot of Luke Combs' artist development stuff and produced his #1 hit, Hurricane. But before there was Luke, there was Tommy. Tell us about Tommy Snyder, the artist.
Yeah, he produced, I think Kenny did my first Christian project. So I quit the music business in 2007 and became an investment banker. But prior to that, I had a Christian album out in 2005, and then my last single was in 2007 on the country. So Kenny was the guy that produced the Christian project, and I wrote it with Rich Alves. If you guys remember him from Pirates of the Mississippi.
Right, and because you've had that background, you get it. You get where artists are coming from, and bring a perspective that maybe other stuffed shirts in the industry don't.
I've traveled the country in an extended cab pickup truck with a trailer in the back of it and loaded gear in and out, and played shows for 100 people and played shows for thousands of people. So, I've got to see from the beginning until the end of all that and the struggle that goes with it. So I get what's happening in the music business when you're an artist. It's not easy.
Right. Well, you mentioned, Steve mentioned earlier the press that this got from Billboard when it was announced here earlier in the month. What has the response been like from Nashville?
Overwhelming, actually. We've had a lot of people reach out to us, and we've had a lot of people tell us how excited that they are that we're coming in to fill a niche that hasn't been filled in years. There's other television networks that started out this way, but their format and their programming have changed. And so we want to come back in and again, it's the Nashville network model, only a modern version of it today. And, we feel like that market's been way underserved for years. And we're super excited about bringing that programming to viewers.
It's been decades really since we've had anything like that. I mean, I cannot think of the last thing I remembered seeing that even resembled it was Marty Stewart on another network where, and I thought people just love that. And I kept thinking, we really need that here in Nashville again. Nashville's kind of lost its way, and I feel like, Tommy, you're kind of bringing it back. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, thanks. We are too. And, it's interesting how over the years things have changed. When I got there in 1990, it was definitely still old Nashville. And, you had the artists that were, still alive that were from back in the 50s and 60s. You had the artists and the writers that were from the 70s and 80s. And then, the 90s thing happened, but they were all still there. And, there was a lot of gatekeepers in place that have gone away since then, So, that's all changed a lot. But, I remember the way it used to be. And, there's a bit of nostalgia, I guess, for me in this. And by the way, coming back to Nashville after being gone for 23 years. So super excited about coming back and getting back involved in the music industry in Nashville.
I tell you why I think this is important, because you see Nashville starting to lose its identity. A lot of it, if you go downtown, has become corporate. Amazon down there, HCA, Firestone. You've got a lot of these companies who have kind of dropped people into the middle of the city. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but as all this development has taken place, it's kind of squeezed out the history and everything that really this town was built on. Yeah,
it's true. It's amazing just to drive down Music Row now, right? So many buildings that I rode in back in the day are gone, and so many things have moved away from the row. And it's interesting. Berry Hill back in the day used to be the place Kurt, remember, used to go do demos in Berry Hill, but it's turned in kind of into the new Music Row now.
Yep, I spent a lot more time, I think, in Berry Hill than I did on Music Row. And although I was on Music Row a lot, but all the buildings that I worked in are just now, they're apartments. Mel Tillis Enterprises and Fireside. I'm sure you remember those studios. Tommy, they're all gone now. They're just apartment complexes. And it's kind of sad to see it. But and Berry Hill is starting to go. It really does look like Music Row more than Music Row now.
Right. Absolutely, it does. Yeah, it's interesting how things change. But the old timers back in the day said the same thing, right?
That's right.
So, Tommy, as you sit down in front of a big whiteboard here and really start to scope out what this thing could look like, what are some of the key priorities here? What do you jot down? And it's fun to have a blank slate to really start from scratch and create here.
Yeah, I mean, we have a very strategic game plan right now. So, we're gonna get to work starting in September. And we're going to give ourselves call it a 6-month window to get everything ready to go, the programming ready to go, the OTT streaming apps developed, all the play out video on demand, all that stuff will be ready to go. And so Q1 we're going to launch and be live with the American Country Network. So it's going to be super exciting. Over the next 6 months, there's going to be a lot of work to do, and but it's it's so worth it because, I think there's a bigger picture here. It's one thing, putting a business plan together, and then it's one thing to successfully launch that business. But I think that this is bigger than all of that. I think that this is going to be a super cool television network that's going to help change a lot of things in the music industry.
Well, and I think knowing what I do about technology and kind of the world I come from, with the Cat Factory and some of the brain power there, and I've talked about, there's a lot of vertical opportunities that's to take this way, being a television, and pretty exciting stuff here. Where one of the goals is, I believe, says ACN will air approximately 30 DMA market over 35 million U.S. homes by Q1 2024. That's pretty aggressive, but what is a DMA for those of us that don't know that nomenclature?
Yeah, it's basically like a market, right? So, you could say a DMA is Nashville is a DMA, right? So it would be a market where you would be able to garner viewership, right? And so, yeah, that is aggressive, but you have to remember on the streaming side, they call it OTT, is over the top. Day one, once that's active, it's actually available to I mean, millions and millions of people. So the marketing strategy that we have put together is really what we're going to use to move forward. Over the next 6 months, we're going to be starting to activate some of that marketing, so that once we flip the switch on, we have people's attention. We were talking the other day in a meeting, and we were talking about a guy that was a missionary that went over to Africa. And, although the little village that he was in, they lived in these small huts with dirt floors, and they all had kind of a commune area where they got together to get water and those kind of things. Every one of them had a cell phone. Every one of them. So, I think that the reach for something in today's world is far greater than we can ever imagine, because everybody has that in their hand nowadays. And, the ability to go click on the American Country Network app and to live stream and watch something, or go into video on demand, it really changes kind of the demographic of the person that we're targeting as far as marketing goes, and really gives us the ability to have a further reach.
Well, on the other end of that spectrum, I was surprised to learn from you that there's still a lot of people operating on antennas out there.
Yeah, there are. It's amazing. So, I think everybody thought that the OTA market, over-the-air market, was going to go dark eventually. But with the invention of the digital over-the-air market, where where an antenna used to be CBS 5, the new regulation is they could divide that 5 up into 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, and then each one of those inside of the 5 points can be an actual channel. And with the new televisions now, they've got an antenna you plug in and you click scan, and all the channels in your local area are available to you for free.
Wow.
It's amazing.
And the network provided that mix. Brent, so you and I've talked a lot about this, the need for broadband to serve these markets that have kind of been overlooked. And you've been right in the middle through your NAFB affiliate. You've been right in the middle of some of that initiative, I guess, federal initiatives to fund a lot of that growth there. So that comes into play, right?
All right. Absolutely. Well, on August 25th, 2023, there's no less need than there was any other time we've talked about this. It's still a great need. There's a lot of money that's earmarked by the federal government. It's just a matter of continuing that rollout and finding willing private partners who are willing to take a risk on these communities here. And a lot of it has been operated on antiquated census data, where the telecoms look at it and say, okay, there's not enough critical mass here to bring us enough return on investment to go out there on a limb and put that out there. So by and large, a lot of these communities have been missed. So they're, hear about it all the time. Either people having to take their kids into the town to McDonald's in the parking lot to do their homework, or they're having to rely on some very sketchy satellite broadband, which is not an easy thing. They pay a lot of money for it and don't always get adequate service. So there's a lot there that has to be done to get these rural communities up to speed here, but they need to get up to speed quickly, because when we talk about these kind of content delivery models, that they're sorely needed in rural America. And I think it's incumbent upon people like us to keep pushing legislators, keep pushing the telecoms and everybody involved to keep moving this ball forward. It's happening in fits and starts, but as I kind of challenged lawmakers when we were there back in May, we're at the table 5 years later, and we're hearing some of the same stories that we were hearing in 2018, 2019. So what are we doing to keep that moving? And what are you as lawmakers doing to keep the pressure on all the other pieces in the chain to make sure that this happens?
Yeah, I think that's super important. And there's a lot of communities out in the far distant rural areas that are underserved. Right. And one of the things that I always thought was interesting, my dad, he lives in Dead Ellen, Florida now, which is a little bit more suburban than it was when he lived in Williston. But a lot of the people out there had to use a satellite cable provider, because there is no direct cable out to any of those locations. So it's quite the undertaking. It's going to be very costly. But even with the satellite technology nowadays, if they could upgrade that so that the ability for these people to have the internet and to be able to watch and be entertained or use it for business. I think it's a huge push, but it would be so beneficial for rural America.
Well, we're getting ready to do one of the largest farm shows in the country next week, the Farm Progress Show. And I know for a fact, in talking to the organizers, a big focus of that is going to be autonomous vehicles. There's a lot to do with monitors, everything from soil monitors to in-cab monitors that tell you everything you need to know about moisture content and seed population and everything else. All that stuff, even if you need to get a tractor or a combine fixed these days, the first step for the major manufacturers is to link into your machine. They're not going to send a technician 2 hours to come delve into your machine. They're going to try to do it remotely, and all that stuff, if you don't have adequate broadband access, is very difficult. So you'll see the major manufacturers really starting to lean on everybody in this process too, because this is all coming so fast. And a lot of these companies are staking the future of these legacy brands on it. I mean, they're not just iron companies anymore. They're technology companies that happen to put iron around technology. And you see that when you see companies like John Deere having a prominent seat at the table at the Consumer Electronics Show every year in Las Vegas. It's a big deal going forward.
It's a long way from when I grew up.
Yeah.
My experience was the dad, the Massey 135 to the graduate.
Yeah, big shout out to Massey. We'll be representing them next week at the Farm Progress Show. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on, but got a special place in our heart for those folks.
Yeah, that's what I grew up right around on.
So technology aside, what are some of the other challenges that you stare down every morning as you come to work and put all these pieces together?
I think the biggest thing is going to be awareness, right? So, having a marketing budget that's been earmarked directly for marketing, I think that's the biggest challenge, because it's, putting a 24/7 streaming platform together. Although it's difficult, I mean, that's doable from a standpoint of doing it, but the awareness part is the hard part. So the most difficult part is going to be the marketing part, but we have a very good plan, and we're very confident we're going to be able to deploy it.
Well, you come into this with strong connections in the industry. As you've kind of floated this to potential advertisers and marketing partners, what's the response been like from them?
With the people in the industry itself?
With any advertisers you put it out there to?
Yeah, everybody's excited about it. All the people that we've talked to so far, they're very excited about it. They love the fact that it's going to be a network that kind of fills that niche that's been missing for so many years. And a lot of these advertisers, their demographic is the country music fan. And to be able to place that directly into a network like the American Country Network, where they know they're going to get that kind of response back from the people that they're selling to, they're very excited about it.
Tommy, we as a record label, Clarksville Creative Sound, and we've got, a lot of touch points out there with our dozens of artists for our label. And we're just seeing a major shift back to the roots of country music, what people call real country music. Some of the things that they're calling country music, some of that stuff is more pop music else. And I think there's a big push back to the basics, and I hold back to the foundational elements, and everything. The word is why a big reason why this network is so timely. Just to get back to the fundamental roots of American music, and what better American music than country music.
No, I agree. And, my business partners in this, they have 8-Track Entertainment, Noah Gordon and Jeff Goodwin. They just signed Dan Tyminski, and they just released that new single for Dan Tyminski, and it's #1 on the Bluegrass charts. And, they're getting a lot of traction on the Bluegrass side. We want to be able to not only have country music, but Americana. We talked the other day about like the history of Western swing. There's a lot of different types of music that fall underneath the country music umbrella. And I think that all of it's relevant. And I think that people are missing that type of music. And look, the stuff that's out right now, there's a lot of it I love. And, there's, Luke Combs, let's talk about him. We're just talking about Kenny, but look at Luke Combs now, I mean, he's doing some real cool stuff, but it's going to take some relevant artists like that to actually make the shift so that it becomes kind of popular in the culture. And I think once that happens, you're going to see a big shift back to what we would consider traditional music. Will probably never get back to that, but the 90s country music thing seems to be the next Merle Haggard and Waylon Jennings and Johnny Cash. I think that's the step back that we'll take. And don't forget, back in the 80s, there was a pop country movement. You had Eddie Rabbitt and guys like him. But then Randy Travis and George Strait came along. And when that happened, the whole thing turned on its side, and everything was different from there. So the cycles are cycles, and it's going to continue to happen. But it's a Luke Combs. It's somebody like him coming in and changing the way he's putting music out.
Well, I think it's interesting too, thanks to social media. A guy like, and his name escapes me, but that song that's going crazy right now, Rich Man.
Oliver Anthony, yeah.
I mean, it got where social media now, all of a sudden he's a mega star, and that guy didn't. Sure, somebody him up by now. I mean, he literally was just, playing that song on acoustic guitar, and just had the right elements to capture everybody's imagination. And so you never know, you never discount the music market. So many tools at independent artists' fingertips, if they're really savvy and work hard, that they can make a success without ever having a major record label, for sure.
That's true. Look, with all the tools nowadays, he's a great example of that. If it's the right song at the right time, and it has the right platform behind it, all you've got to do is go viral. And once that happens and people discover who you are, then they become a fan. It's not any different than it used to be back in the old days, except you had to pay for radio play, right? So that's how you got out to the market and people were able to hear you, unless you were out playing 5 nights a week at shows, But nowadays, it's so much faster to become a known artist because of the internet and technology. What happened with Oliver Anthony, would have never happened 20 years ago. But here we are in the middle of all the technology, and the old overnight success thing really is true now.
Right.
Like we've got an artist, Dina. Well, I'm saying Dina Wood, but Dina's not an artist. She's a technology person who runs a company called Indie Express. But one of our artists, Carrie Romero, from literally through a guy that runs a karaoke show, just said, "Hey," and knew Kurt, and they said, "This girl's got something really special." Of all the singers that I've heard come through here, how karaoke, a lot of people think they're good, and so he sent her to Kurt and I, and we met her last November. And then she came in the studio, drove up to Clarksville, and heard her sing. And he said, "I can really work with this." And next thing you know, she's some songs out. And through our friend Dina Wood, who runs Indie Express, and thanks to technology, instead of having to drive from radio station to radio station handing out 45s like they did, in Coal Miner's Daughter, Dina can push one button and get her music or anybody's music out to thousands of radio stations, and lo and behold, she records some songs, and just a few weeks later, she's on the top of numerous indie charts. So I mean, that's
hitting on something that Tommy said too. We have a young girl on our label, Jaden Riley, and when Jaden was like 7 or 8 years old, Tommy, she went out and did a remake of that's her right there. She did a remake of the Simon Garfunkel song "Sound of Silence," and that thing has somewhere around 50 or 60 million views. And just to show you how that works, Sean Penn actually loved that song, and he pulled up Jaden singing it just accidentally, I'm sure, but he absolutely fell in love with her and actually brought her in on a brand new movie he was making and made her a star role a starring role in that movie. And so the internet is huge. It's just huge at what we can do with it.
Yeah.
It is. It really is. I mean, everybody's so connected now. It's like you said, Sean Penn saw her, sing the song and on a music video, I'm assuming. And, how amazing is that?
Yeah.
How many years did people spend with a talent agent, going to all these interviews and talking to all these people? And, it's amazing nowadays how something like as simple as the web and the internet can literally make a career for people.
Right. And I'm going to talk about the other edge of that sword, though. With that, though, you are kind of the success stories are great, but you're kind of beholden to the whims of the internet here and the algorithms. How is ACN looking to kind of control not only the narrative, but the distribution channels so that, when you look at an artist, you're lucky to get, fractions of a penny on the dollar for every Spotify stream or YouTube play or what have you. And that really doesn't cut it for a lot of artists. How can you create other platforms and other distribution channels so people can actually be successful with this and not have to be reliant on the internet to get some traction?
Hey, we've had conversations about that. I think that there's actually a way to put a platform together that could live underneath the umbrella of American Country Network that could not only provide tools for artists and information for artists so that they have the ability to be successful, but could create a community for them to actually share music videos and be able to stream their music and actually be able to collect the revenues for it that they should be collecting for it.
And that's huge, Steve.
I think it's just waiting for somebody to do it. I think people have had some ideas to do it, but I don't think it's actually been put together. I don't think anybody's been able to execute it.
Well, that's music to my ears, no pun intended. And yes, we've talked about that. It became obvious to me as kind of an outsider coming to the music business, learning what I did from Kurt, and then just being an artist myself. And putting myself out there through TuneCore or the various DistroKid and all that, and then waiting for the money to come rolling in, and literally the pennies just trickle in. It's like, yeah, I'm making money now. And got to be a better way. And of course, we've talked about creating our own marketplace, but the question always remains, how can you drive people to the marketplace? And I think you answer that fundamental question and solve that problem. So I think that's very interesting. Let's talk just for a second though, Tommy. So obviously you can't do all of this yourself. You've surrounded yourself and partnered with 3 other guys that have obviously their own strengths. And as an investor and private equity investor myself, you can have the greatest business plan in the world, the greatest looking brand in the world, but what I look for is I'm investing in the people to make the business plan work. And it looks to me like from all accounts that you've got the right ingredients here. You want to talk a little bit about each of the other founding members?
Sure, yeah. So Noah Gordon is one of the founding members. Noah and I have actually known each other for almost 30 years. So he and I worked with McDaniels, as did Kurt back in the day. We met. Noah was on Capitol Records. He was a recording artist on Capitol at the time, and he was managed by David Corlew and Charlie Daniels. So we met. I think the first song we ever wrote was "Till I Fell for You," which got in the hands of my friend Jim Ed Norman, and they cut it on Chad Brock's first record. So first major label cut was with Noah Gordon, and we've just kept up with each other over the years. We've been talking about putting a network together and how we could facilitate that. This all came together. So Noah's background in the music industry is not only as a recording artist, but as a songwriter as well. He's written a lot of big songs. He's a Grammy award-winning producer. He's produced a lot of different acts in country music and done very well at it. So his place in Nashville in the country music industry is well known, and he's very good at what he does. Jeff Goodwin was also in the music business to start out with in publishing. So Jeff has a lot of experience in publishing and licensing and content and those kind of things. He was with NASCAR for years and raised millions of dollars for them through their marketing plans, racing in NASCAR. And he's also a partner in 8 Track Entertainment with Noah, and they've been wildly successful with that company. Keith Chester has been my business partner. He has a background with a company called Broadway, which is a big marketing firm. So he's got a huge background in marketing. He also has a very big background in technology. He started out and was able to help create some big platforms in the streaming industry back in the day. So he's got a lot of experience in the streaming side, the technology side, and in the marketing side, as well as the music business too. He had his own recording studio, and he's produced acts out in LA and New York in the pop business. And then me, it's the 4 of us. So I'm super excited about the team. We have other people that we're talking to about bringing them on to be employees of the network that I'm super excited about getting them involved. And in general, we just have people that are behind us, supporting us, that have a lot of experience in the industry.
So you've got a lot of potential or real advisors out there over and above the 4 of you that are going to help shape this thing. You've had a lot of people come forward since the news broke. Just there's been quite a bit of buzz out there that you can.
So any of the people that we're going to bring on for board positions or consulting positions, we're gonna wait to announce that officially. But there are some really great people that have come aside and said they want to be a part of it and want to be able to help with it.
Right. Well, that's an exciting thing. It's one of the most exciting things that we've heard about in a long time. And like I said, the time is just perfect.
Is anyone surprised that it's taken this long for this to happen? This has just been sitting there waiting, and everybody knows we desperately need it. And thank God for Tommy for having this vision to come in here and do this. I've been waiting for 15 years, thinking surely somebody's going to do this. And Tommy, we take our hat off to you. It's just great. It's the best thing that could happen to Nashville.
Well, I've told you guys before, and I'll say it again. I live on complete faith, and I think the timing for this actually, God's hand is on all of this, and I think the timing couldn't have been better. And over the course of the last few years, that this niche really hasn't been filled. That's been the common thread in the conversations is that, thank God something is coming to Nashville that can be the network that's going to represent Nashville and be a part of the music industry. And we're just super excited about it. It's going to be so great. And it's going to be great to see so many people that have said they were going to come behind us and be a part of it, get to come and participate in that. And it's just going to be a cool thing, I think, for the whole Nashville music scene.
Well, we met you, Tommy, through our good friend, Steve Oliver. Talk about that for a minute. Steve's somebody we all love.
Yeah, so I met Steve Oliver. It's funny, you were talking about it earlier. Steve and Kurt and I, we were in Nashville all at the same time, but I don't know that Steve and I ever met, or we probably ran into each other. I know that Kurt and I have met, but Steve and Nikki Nelson, lead singer for Highway 101. I mean, great people, and talk about 2 people that want to make sure traditional music stays in play. Those are 2 of the people that are really out there on the forefront doing that, and making sure that it all happens. And they've been coming out to Texas to play. They've been traveling around and going down to Alabama and playing in Tennessee, and they're just great people. I love them to death.
You know what, Tommy? I went out to Steve's place to shoot a video on my son Braden. We had a couple songs. We were shooting some videos, and the videographer said, "Hey, I know a great place we can go shoot this." And we went out to Steve's place, and this guy comes driving up on a tractor or something, and he goes, "Hey, you're Kurt Ryle." And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You produced a record on me about 30 years ago." Steve Oliver, I had no clue. And it's been years since I've seen him, but what a great guy, man.
Well, I want to talk about God. All the places you could have gone to shoot a video, and it just happened to Steve Oliver.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
That's how
That
you
is
work.
amazing.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, what's funny is you guys have the Vern Gosling connection in connection with the two of you guys too, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I was fortunate to work with Vern for 5 years out there. I was a steel guitar player, and I started out as this guitar player. And one day he just come in and he said, "Hey, I want you to play steel guitar." And I said, "Well, I've never played one, Vern. I don't know." And, Vern didn't know about this stuff, and he goes, "Oh, you can do it." Mel Tillis said you can play anything, so you got 2 weeks to learn my show. And he just dumped it on me like that's a true story. And so I had to go buy a steel guitar and start woodshedding. And anyway, it just got to be it became fairly easy for me. I ended up getting to play on a lot of recording sessions. I think I played on John Anderson's Seminole Wind.
Oh, wow.
It became an instrument that I felt comfortable with, and I played with him for 5 years. A lot of fun.
You know, I'm good on the steel guitar as long as I can use a capo. Outside of that, I'm in trouble.
They don't make one for those, do they?
Well, you talk about the excite. Oh, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
Hey, Steve and Nikki, as much as they've accomplished, and Steve's successful in his own right in music, and he's a successful businessman, and Nikki certainly has reached a lot of music world singer for Highway. And yet, those two, the love of the music, they don't do it for the money. They're out playing somewhere almost every night.
Yeah, they are. They are. And you know what? That's so great to see, because a lot of times this all just turns into a job. And, at some point your guitar can feel like a crescent wrench, right? Yeah. But, those guys, they're out there as much as they can, playing as much as they can, and they love doing it.
Yeah. I went to the National Palace and played with them recently, and I forgot how much fun it was because I'm always in the studios, and they're having a lot of fun out there. It's great.
I know, it's great, right? Yeah, we do forget about how much fun it is after you get away from it for a while.
Except Kurt, I was there that day, and the guitar they gave you might as well have been a crescent wrench.
Well, it was a very different kind of a guitar, but I still had fun. It was a blast playing up there with those guys.
Yeah, got to get Riley up there to sing a couple of songs, and they got me up there, and I did a couple of Mickey Gilley and a Gene Watson song. It was fun and good crowd there, So yeah, if they're doing it for the love of the music, I'm going to be with them up in Ruidoso in a few days. They're playing three consecutive nights over at the Country Club Performance Hall. Pretty impressive. We're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
You talk about the excitement and the fun surrounding this music and around this network. Just looking at the number of people jumping on here today. I want to thank everybody who's on here for this. I'm seeing everybody from Texas, Oklahoma, all the way to Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Tennessee, Iowa. So we have got a nice cross section of people throughout this country who are on here for this broadcast today. We want to thank everybody who is tuning in for this. And I think it just shows the pent up demand there is for it.
Yeah, I'm so excited about it. And I'm thankful for everybody that tuned in on this today too. We've got a little work ahead of us, but soon enough we'll be putting out some new programming, and we just hope that everybody has a chance to tune into the American Country Network and be a part of it.
Well,
for folks, well, go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Tommy, should we talk about some of the new programming specifically?
Well, let's let that be an announcement too, Steve. But I will say this: there is one show that we're working on that I think is going to be super cool, and you and Kurt brought that to me with Steve Oliver, and I think it's going to be a cool show. It's a great concept, and we're super excited about it.
Yeah, well, that's all we need to say at this point. We are excited. We're in the phase, but we're shaping up, I think, to be something really, really cool. And I think it could be one of the defining shows possibly for the network. If we all do it, if we all put everything into it, and it got the potential, really something special. And, that's the thing that Kurt and I were talking about. I think we were all talking about that on the phone the other day. We miss shows like Heat, as corny as it could be, but it was so entertaining. And just good basic family entertainment and great music. And so that kind of programming, and I'm not saying that's what we're talking about here. I'm just saying programming like that kind of goes back to the basics and just brings good, wholesome entertainment is so needed. And so we're just so excited about that.
And we're living in a really crazy time right now. I mean, there's a lot of wacky stuff going on in the world, and the people are starving to death for this kind of entertainment. They want family values, and this is it, Tommy. I believe you guys have just really honed in on exactly what America's wanting, and I predict this is going to be a huge success.
You know, the main thing that we're concerned about is to make this very family-friendly programming, right? I mean, I've told you about my faith in God, and we want to make sure that you can sit down with your kids and your grandkids, and you can turn the show on, and there's no concern about anything happening that you have to explain away later.
Yeah, that's right. Good. That's great.
Steve, I think Kurt could be the next Grandpa Jones.
I could be Grandma Jones with that wig on.
Well, you're driving me there. I wasn't going to go there today.
Don't do it.
Yeah, Kurt, it's whatever you identify today.
Well, I just identify as a country music lover today, guys. And by the way, I just want to say something. You guys, Tommy hit on something earlier about some of these artists out there like Luke, and there's a lot of others. I'm a big fan of Morgan Wallen, and I'm a big fan of a lot of these artists out there. So Tyler Childress, I like him, and I think there's a room for everything. I really think the people love it all. They just feel like that there's a part of it that's been kind of cast aside, and I think from what I'm getting from what Tommy's saying, he's going to have a pretty good balance of just about everything, and I like that.
Yeah, we will. Speaking of Morgan Wallen, I like his stuff, and last night I was watching a music video with him and Larry Fleet, who is another great artist, by the way. And it's Where I Find God, I think is the name of the song. But there's so many people out there that are just great artists, and the music they're putting out is just great music. Yeah. And we're going to be able to put a platform together that lets them have a place for people to come find out who they are if they're not already known. And if they are known, it's going to give them a platform to create new fans and more views and more people at the concert.
So, Tommy, as this ramps up and rolls out over the next few months, how can folks watching today here keep up with the latest developments? Where can they go to follow those? Yeah,
so they can go to acncountry.com. We have I think the splash page is put together, and you can actually go on the website right now and put your name and email address and any kind of notes that you want to put on there and send that to us, and that's going to go into our database. And as news comes out and as things progress, we're going to start sending things out to people to let them know what's happening and when they can watch.
Excellent. Well, before we get out of here, Steve, we've got one more order of business here. As I was doing my due diligence here for the show this week, I realized that our special guest here has a big birthday coming up here next Thursday, number 55. Happy birthday early.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be 55 on the 31st.
Excellent. Any big plans besides moving?
I think we're gonna have a little birthday party here with all the people that we've been friends with through all these years here in Colleyville and the surrounding areas, and get to tell everybody bye and share stories from all the time we spent together. Side note too, Jeff Goodwin, my business partner in this, his birthday is also August 31st. So, every year going forward, once we all get to Nashville, we'll have a big birthday party in Nashville.
Well,
excellent.
Happy birthday in advance, Tommy. And I think it's a great time for you. I know it's an exciting time for you. I'm grateful you have this opportunity. And that's one of the things we really use that you're grounded in understanding, why all this is possible and who makes this possible. And that's going to be one of the major keys, the center of the success of this thing. I'm convinced, we all have to remain in charge, right?
Absolutely. And there's no way that all the things that I've done in my life have been done by me. I can tell you that. So God's hand's been on the whole thing. And I'm so blessed and thankful for, being able to be raised that way and be able to take the word risk and replace it with faith. How about that? I mean, that's a great way to move forward.
There you go. There you go. That de-risks everything, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
I firmly believe that too. And sometimes in the heat of the battle, we lose sight of that. But experience always shows that's always a constant. Never lets us down if we just turn to God. So.
Well, Matthew 6:24 says, "Do not worry." Right? Look at the birds of the air; they don't reap or sow or gather into barns, but doesn't God take care of them? So it goes on to say, if God would take care of the little things, why wouldn't you believe that He would take care of you?
That's right.
Right.
Kurt and I were talking about that last night. I was working on a song idea about, all the billions and billions and trillions of people on this earth from the beginning of time, all the mountains, deserts, all the wonders of the world. God actually stopped and took time to make me.
Yes. Yes. I heard a guy say the other day, he said, I think God loves the working class the most because He made the most of us.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
I think is when you want to talk about getting into that, you want to talk about Jesus. Boy, He was working class. He didn't ride a steed, a donkey.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, I tell you what, we have had a great hour here, and we want to be respectful of Tommy's time here. And Tommy, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on the program. And we look forward to working with you and inviting you back on here to give us status updates as this progresses.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'd love to do that.
Well, Steve, we mentioned on the show last week some great accolades for some of the Clarksville creative sound artists, namely Darren Wright and Vanessa Bourne at the Red Carpet Music Awards in the Netherlands. After we got off the air, we also found out another special accolade at that award for another Clarksville creative sound artist, Kevin Fullen, who won an award there as well. So Clarksville creative sound with a great showing internationally here last week.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I congratulated Kevin, and that song Denver, he's gotten a lot of traction out of that, and rightfully so. It's a very well performed and well produced song, and so we're proud of all those guys. Vanessa and Darren took the time, and Darren had a nightmare of a trip over to the Netherlands. I mean, I can't remember what all happened to him. I think he lost his credit cards or something like that. But anyway, he managed to make it through, and what a voice he's got, and what a talent he and Vanessa, all these folks are. We're just proud to have them on the label, and trying to do our best to continue to support them. But great showing from those.
And of course, we are just a few weeks away from the Josie Awards at the Grand Ole Opry House in Nashville, and a whole slew of Clarksville creative sound artists are up for awards at that one. So in just a few weeks, we've also got the CMA of Texas Awards coming up at the Do-Si-Do Barn in the Woodlands in Texas here in a few weeks. That also looks to be a strong showing for Clarksville. So a lot going on here, and a lot to like about what's going on here with the label.
Yeah, Kurt, real quick, how many nominations do we have at the Josies for our artists?
We've got 10 nominees out of, there's 12 artists. 2 of them were not eligible because we just signed them this year, and this is from the year 2022. But 10 of our artists are nominated for awards, and some of them are nominated for multiple. I know Braden and Jaden and some of the others are nominated. Mackenzie McKetty are nominated for somewhere around 7-8 awards. It's just amazing. These kids are setting the woods on fire out there in the indie market, and they're putting up numbers too on social media. I mean, they got some big numbers. Some of Braden and Jaden's stuff, they're up in the millions. And Jasmine McDonald, believe it or not, we released a song on Jasmine McDonald called Train Station. And 15 minutes after we released the video, a movie company out of Hollywood called and said, "Hey, we want that in our movie, in this new movie." And I can't think of the guy's name. I'm the worst about it. His last name is Jackson. We've all seen him in movies. He's a big star. And we negotiated a deal with them. They actually sent me a video clip, And I thought, well, it'll be buried in a bar and people talking over it. No, actually, the guy got in his car and turned on the radio, and that song comes blaring out of the radio, and you get to hear almost the whole song. It's crazy. So great things are happening for us. We're excited about it, and God's got his hand all over it. I'm telling you, we couldn't be more pleased with our artists. We have a great team.
That is so cool. And another one of our artists, newer artists, Evie May, is going to be making an appearance up there with you, Brett, at the what is that event?
That's right. It's the Farm Progress Show, which is one of the largest outdoor farm shows each year in the country. And I have a partnership with AGCO, which is the parent company of Fendt and Massey Ferguson and Gleaner Combines. We were going to be there. I'm going to have a mobile studio set up there beginning next Tuesday when the show launches, the 29th. Evie will be there that day. She's going to play the last hour of the show at the AGCO lot, which is lot 333. They've got just a massive video board and sound system set up. We've been coordinating with those folks for that. And I'm going to be there with that studio set up through Thursday. We're going to be doing a lot of interviews. We'll be doing social media hits throughout the week here. And it's a great opportunity to showcase Clarksville creative sound and also to just connect some of these dots that we've been talking about between this great music in rural America here. So looking forward to being there next week in Decatur, Illinois. That's a show that rotates every other year. Last year it was in Boone, Iowa. It'll be back there again next year. So a great opportunity to really bring this music to the farmers and ranchers and folks in middle America.
Well, I want to give a plug too to a company that I'm involved in called Blended Sense out of Austin, and their whole platform has been built, and the network has been built to no matter where you are in the geographical United States, they can match a creative like a videographer or photographer to fill your needs. And so I called them yesterday and said, "Can you get a videographer up to somewhere outside of Decatur, Illinois?" And within like an hour later, they called back and said, "When and where? We got him." So, so we're going to have we'll have some great video footage of her performance, and that's what we're trying to do is capture potential content on everything we do. So
absolutely. So she'll be playing the last hour of the show, and then immediately following the show, they are having a networking kind of a pizza and movie event, and she's going to be playing before and possibly after that as well. So after we sent them some clips on what she does, they're really high on her too. So that's a pretty high praise because there are other artists they work with as Luke Bryan. So they understand talent in the business and are excited about this partnership here. So we'll be putting our best foot forward next week in Decatur, Illinois. So be watching the socials for that. And make sure you're plugged into the Rural Strong Media Facebook page, as well as the Clarksville Creative Sound Facebook page and this Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook page. So you can follow the latest with everything that's going on here with all the artists, with all the awards coming up, with the launch of the American Country Network and some other projects that we've got a hand in here. So you don't miss any of the latest information. And we hope also that you will follow us here on Rural Strong Radio, which is our 24/7 streaming radio station found at ruralstrongmedia.com. We're also on the Live 365 streaming radio app. We're playing a lot of this great independent country music, as well as some of the legends in the business, a little bit of bluegrass, a little bit of Southern rock, some inspirational music, and just some ag programming as well, and even a little bit of trucking industry programming. So we're trying to cover all of our bases here in rural America. We're rolling 24/7 again at ruralstrongmedia.com. We're on the Live 365 streaming radio app. And as we say every week, a couple more programming notes on Sundays at 9 a.m. Central. We feature two great programs coming out of Texas. First, from Vidor, Texas to the world, it's Robbie Lynn with Sunday's Kind of Country. Every week he plays 3 hours of great inspirational music from the legends and independents. I sneak in there for about the last 15 minutes and play an independent short set with some different artists here. Just to take you up to the top of the hour, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, when we head on out to Lubbock, Texas, to meet up with our friend Billy Bowles with Billy Bowles Swinging Country. And you know what he's all about. He's got 2 great hours of some of the best in traditional country music and Western swing music. And he plays again on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central on Rural Strong Radio. So a couple great opportunities to hear that after you hear the first run on KSSL FM. We thank those folks here. We love our partnership with Kathy Jewell and the folks at KSSL. Well, I tell you what, our time is up here. And if you missed any portion of the show, you can check it out archived immediately following the show. And we'll be back here again next Friday, 10 a.m. Central, for another episode of Fort Worth Musical Moments. A special thank you to everybody who tuned in, to our special guest, Tommy Snyder, also Kurt Ryle. For all you all, it's Brent Adams. We'll be back again next week. Keep riding tall in the saddle and make it a great week, everybody. So long. You've been watching Fort Worth Musical Moments, a production of Rural Strong Media and Clarksville Creative Sound, copyright 2023. Please join the Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook group and join us each Friday at 10 a.m. Central as we introduce you to another key figure in Fort Worth's musical heritage.